Hi, welcome to Tactical to Practical, the real world business show. I'm Joe Carlisle.
And I'm Ken Rose.
Come join us as we peel back the onion of small business success and explore strategies, tactics, and solutions for real life business people with real life business challenges. Hey, and welcome to Tactical to Practical, the real world business show. I'm Joe Carlisle.
And I'm Ken Rose.
And we are your answer. If you are a real life business person
Or wannabe.
You have real life challenges, and that's what this show is about. If you are the CEO with 500, 700, 1,000 employees, or you have $100,000 a year advertising budget,
We need a job.
yeah. We are probably not your peccadillo. that's my throwback to what was that movie?
Peccadillo, I don't even know what that means.
Oh yeah, I'm your peccadillo. Oh, it was a Western. Deadwood? No. Anyways, for another day. Back in the olden days. Today we are going to talk about business planning, and business planning actually is probably one of the pillars of your business, whether you realize it or not. Now, last week, actually, I don't want to get into that just yet. You know why? The summer is officially over.
It's sad, man. It's sad because it's like, you pack up your sundries, you pack up the tiki bar, and then you cry a bit. The weather's getting cooler. No, not really, because we're right here in Central Florida, where it's still going to be 90 degrees at Thanksgiving.
I was about to call bullshit, Ken. I know you. You ain't packing up that tiki bar unless
not at all.
Unless we get that unicorn snowstorm here in Central Florida.
But I do look forward to it moving into fall, because the mornings are cooler. It's a lot nicer in the mornings. Sun goes down a little bit earlier. You're able to enjoy being outside, in the evening when it's a little bit cooler, sipping a drink.
The thing that I enjoy the most about the fall here is that weather,
mm-hmm.
right? I probably prefer the fall more than to summer.
Yeah.
I mean, leading into winter, yes, we've got, Thanksgiving. I'm not a Halloween guy. Are you a Halloween guy?
I love Halloween. I think it's fun. And now that all my kids are grown, what we do is Halloween, we sit out in front of the driveway and we have some Halloween stuff, and Lisa and I get dressed up in costume, and we hand out candy to the kids and beer and seltzers to the adults, and so we've kind of taken it in a different way, and it's a lot of fun. In our neighborhood, people actually pull in with their cars, and they park, and they so we go through a lot of candy.
Yeah, they do kind of like the trunk or treat right in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy in our neighborhood. I mean, we probably, no exaggeration, we probably spend $200 a year in candy just to get out. Yes, this is a big neighborhood.
Now, Patty and I don't live in a real walk around. Of course, a lot of people from my neighborhood
They come to our neighborhood.
Right.
That's what it is. They come to our neighborhood.
They walk over, and so Patty and I have, the last couple of years, we bought these 2 big bags of candy,
mm-hmm.
and you might give away a half dozen,
right?
Because there's not a lot of kids. I mean, there's a lot of kids in our neighborhood. They just don't stay in our neighborhood to trick or treat.
Well, good for you and this
or
Patty.
I'm the cranky old guy, so they just don't knock on the door. We don't decorate for Thanksgiving. I mean, we might put some
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. We might put, not Thanksgiving. I mean, we don't decorate for Halloween. We might put out some pumpkins or something.
Yeah.
But, we just, but we're much more into Christmas. We are Christmas freaks,
right?
And so
I enjoy Christmas too.
One of the nice things of summer being over, moving into the fall, is Christmas is around the corner. I don't let Patty decorate until the day after Thanksgiving. A lot of people say I'm Simon Legree because of it.
Right. Just because Home Depot has Christmas trees in September does not mean it's time to decorate.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It means that they need that profit margin even earlier in the year. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's the end of the year, so it's kind of fun. You going anywhere at the end of the year? You're hanging out at home?
Patty and I try to do something every year, and it depends typically on need and finance, and it's kind of like it's a project a Christmas project we do with a particular set of the population which gets underserved A lot of people don't realize that a lot of times somebody coming out of addiction or out of prison with the best intentions, the holidays can be very stressful. And, I mean, if you just got out of rehab, you've been in rehab for 10 months or 9 months, and, now you have a job, but you're trying to be responsible, you're not dropping a lot of money on Christmas gifts.
Right.
And a lot of times you're in that situation, you've burned every relationship in your life. So, grandparents might not be coming through. It's you and your wife and your kids. And I say wife, it might be you and your husband and your kids, and so typically we have a couple of organizations we try to support families in that situation for Christmas. And
well, I mean, it's just a tough economy. I mean, things are so expensive. I mean, it just is. And so really, I think the most important gift really to give people is probably food related, a meal.
Well, and actually one of the things that Patty and I have found in that particular instance is, because I can remember 16 years ago what that was like,
right.
Was wanting to drop all that money, but I'm trying to be a responsible
sure.
guy, which I'd never been before. So I'm paying the rent first and the electric first. And somebody helped us out, and it really touched us so much that, now that I'm successful,
you're able to give back.
I'm able to give back. The other thing that I find is that because Patty and I try to do it in an out of the box fashion, not just give enough for Christmas Day, but try to bless them enough that they can get through the Christmas weekend,
right.
With groceries or whatever. It really, the dividends it has paid us back, on the grand scale of things, I think is wonderful. But that's Christmas Day, summer is over, and that's what it means to us. It's coming. You know what else it means? It means it's time for me to look at my business plan.
Well, and
for two things.
It all
two
takes
reasons.
planning.
That's right. So when the fall hits, actually, now that we get into September, okay, we're really almost to the fourth quarter.
Correct.
And so, once you get into the fourth, September, October, November, we're almost into the fourth quarter. So once you get into the fourth quarter, many people wait till November to start looking at their goals and say, where did I go wrong? But frankly, if you look at the 1st of September, you start looking at your goals, what's your gap, you still have time to really buckle down, but it's going to take a plan. Now, here's the thing. You need a business plan for a lot of reasons. And we referred to this a little bit last week, but when you're starting your business, you need to have direction. Okay, you had the idea, you did the research, it's a good idea.
You got your corporation.
Right, you got your corp. There's not a million people doing it. You got your corporation, you talk to your lawyer and your accountant, you know what your structure is going to be. You know where ideally you're going to ask for money to get your business up and running if you're going to need it. But whether you're going to borrow money or not, and again, we talked about this extensively last week, you need a business plan, a formal business plan, if you're going to borrow money from anybody and you don't have a proven track record.
Correct.
Okay. My suggestion is always, though, you should have a formal business plan. Anyways, if you're Jim Bob, the guy painting the numbers on the curb, or you're cooking cupcakes for sale in your own kitchen, you're not quite to that place where you're getting a shop, you should have a business plan.
Always.
And the reason you should have a business plan is focus. It'll allow you to not get down the rabbit trail and ride the roller coaster of, I've got business today, I don't have business, I got plenty, I got too much, I got to stop. I mean, you and I talk about this all the time.
All the time.
So many guys get successful and they stop marketing. Because
they're busy.
They're busy. They got a lot of money coming in. It is probably mistake number one that has killed more businesses, because then something happens, there's a downturn, and now they don't have any business because they haven't
what do I
marketing.
do? Right.
But now they don't have the money to market.
Well, and that goes back to last week's episode when we talked about drawing a consistent salary.
That's right.
So that when you're busy, you're not taking more money, and when you're slow, you're not taking less money.
But a business plan, an overall business plan, will help you design that.
Right.
It's you then put that in the budget, right? Just like paying yourself a paycheck, you want to have your marketing budget and your advertising budget, which are not the same thing, but you want to have that in your business plan,
right?
Because that way, you in the good times, you still keep that money going. She can creep in. That's
do we have a guest?
We're a business.
He's here to pick up cards, but you don't have an invoice.
And who is that for?
Dakota Lynn. There's no invoice.
Here, I'll carry this, man.
All right,
For those of you who don't know,
just a minute, and we'll be right back.
That's right. For those of you
me.
who don't know, one of the beauties of Tactical to Practical, we talk about real life business people with real life business challenges. We are real life business people with real life business challenges. We operate this studio. This studio is actually located at the back of his operating business, Minuteman Press. And frankly, every now and then, Miss Lisa, who owns Brand Squad, we are the second half of her office. Isn't technology wonderful? So if Ken has to leave to go deal with a customer, well, that's what it's all about. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The purpose of the business plan is to give you focus so that you can know, as the days and the weeks lay out, what your purpose is. Now, a business plan can be a lot of things. A business plan can be you should have an overall business plan which outlines where you see the business going or where you'd like the business to go in the next 5 to 10 years. And from that point, and again, we're talking size of the business. If you're just starting up if you're starting up a coffee shop or you're just getting started into real estate, and you're opening up your own small one-man shop, you probably don't need a 10-year plan. If you're opening up a business where you're going to be doing manufacturing, you have machines, you're going to have 25 employees, you probably want to do a business plan, and your lenders are probably going to require, your lenders or your investors are going to require a business plan that focuses out maybe 10 years, what your production is going to be and how it's going to increase, what your profit margin is going to be. Here's the beauty of that. In the end of year one, you can sit down and look at your business and see if you're on that track. Has something changed to change that business plan? Have you learned something about the industry you didn't know before? Now, my buddy Ken is coming back. Again, he solved this real life business challenge. But you had to deal with a customer, right?
Customers are the reason that we're here.
Customers are
the reason we have the show, because we have the electricity to pay for the show.
That's right. So I explained to everybody that, we're real life business people. That's what it takes. That's right. So I was just talking about a business plan, how long it takes. Why don't we take a quick break? Okay. And when we come back, I'm going to hand this over to Ken.
Cool.
Okay.
We'll see you in a little bit.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Okay.
I'm back too. Look at that.
This is
Ken Rose.
And I am Joe Carlisle. And this is
Tactical to Practical, the real world business show.
That's right. And we are talking today about business planning. Okay. And, I had just spoken about the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. The real purpose of a business plan is to give you a roadmap, like an overall map. Okay, because if I'm headed to Boston, I can get in the car and I can head on out. But if I don't know, I can go north generally.
Isn't just 95,
right? Yes,
right.
Just get
you
on
don't need
95.
a plan.
No, but it might not be. What if they shut down sections of it, or there's here's the actual perfect example. Is it just as easy as get on 95 and go north?
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, it is until I hit that 4-hour traffic jam. In Atlanta,
right?
Or the exchange to Atlanta,
sure,
right? What about when I hit the second traffic jam? Now I think to myself, I'm not doing this again. I'm going to get off here. This looks like a bypass, but it's not a bypass, okay? Where it takes me 4 hours out of my way. How do I get back onto 95? But I don't have a map, okay? I may be stuck.
Well.
And I may get to Boston, but as opposed to getting there in 18 hours, might take me 5 days. with a lot of little side trips and turnarounds and which way, and I missed the exit. You know, the reason we have GPS, right?
Well, you know what? On our next show, we're going to hear if Joe was successful in driving to New Hampshire and back, and if he had a plan or if he just got bombarded, got lost. So we'll hear about that in the
we'll
next
talk
episode.
about that in the next episode.
Hey, so, the other word that I wanted to use, Joe, you talk about plan. And another great reason for a plan is accountability.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
You know, I mean, I think that's a word that's important and they're synonymous with planning.
So typically, a business plan will have a profit and loss statement, sales projections, marketing and advertising projections because you're brand new. It'll have legal. It'll have accounting. It'll have anything in locations. You know,
what you're doing, how you're doing it,
and an outline of what you're doing and how you're doing. You also are going to have to provide, if you're brand new at it, provide a resume. Why do you think you're good at selling cupcakes? Because you've been a computer programmer.
Correct.
You know, you're going to have to show that your computer programming leans in with you cooking 3 days a week for the church, 4,000 cupcakes for their nonprofit. Okay, now somebody can say, you can't just say, well, I saw this TV show and I kind of think I like cooking.
I like to eat.
You know, I cooked up a couple of batches and they were beautiful on Instagram, but, you know, doesn't necessarily mean you're primed to run that kind of a business. So that all to say, it gives you a roadmap. And the beauty of the roadmap in business is there is going to be some delay. There's going to be something that takes you off that road. And it's very easy to do in the minutia of running the business once you get up and running. And so you have to reverse engineer that. And of course, this is, you know, goal setting, business planning 101. Your 5-year plan should take you to a goal for 5 years. You break that down into what's your 4-year plan, your 3-year plan, your 2-year plan, your 1-year plan. You know, what you're accomplishing from the end of year 2 to the end of year 3 is going to be completely different if you've done it right than day 1 to the end of year 1. So you have to break that. You get down to the first year, and then you're going to break it down into quarters, months, weeks, and days. So I started to say summer is over. It's time to look at the gap between where my plan said I was going to be and where I actually am, because there's enough time to do that. Of course, the key to that, right, is to look at how much now do I need to change the monthly plan for the next 5 months? How much do I need to change for...
that sounded like a burp, but I
yes,
didn't know anybody burped.
Wow. Look, don't do those special effects while I'm talking,
like,
okay,
was
Ken?
that me? It didn't sound like me. It didn't sound like Joe. I don't know what's going on there.
Downside to being an old guy. Sometimes these things slip out.
Glitch. It's a glitch in
It's
Joe's
a glitch.
software.
Sorry, half of you are grossed out by now.
I don't know what the hell happened.
But what's the most important thing to plan? We've talked about the 5-year, the 1 month, the quarter, the year. What's the most important plan to have?
The most important plan is just to have your day planned. You know, let's start with the basics, because you can't plan a month out if you can't plan the day out, and so many people fail to plan their day, and so what is it? What do you mean plan your day? I mean, I have to be at work at 9. I get out at 5. I have a lunch from 12 to 1. The rest of the day I'm working. Well, a plan starts with very simply getting out of bed, doing things that you need to do to begin your day. So many people I hear just say, oh, man, the day got ahead of me and I just had no time to go to the gym again. You know, I've been trying to go to the gym for the last 7 weeks, and the day gets long. Have a plan. Maybe plan to get up earlier. Maybe plan 30 minutes earlier. Exercise in the morning before you go to work. Now you have a plan in place. Set your alarm. Don't wake up just because the dog's up. Have an alarm. Have a plan. And that's really it, Joe, is you got to start with the simplest things.
Do you know, Ken, I was actually pulling in this morning, and I said, and I got here a little early today because, you know, we had some stuff to do, some extra stuff to talk about, a little bit of recording to do. And I thought to myself, man, if I could just show up every day the way Ken does, my business would be on steroids. right? And so here's the reason for the plan, though, right? So
have a plan.
If you're a realtor or anybody else that has to be self-motivated, you're not accountable. We're going to talk about accountability in a minute. You're not accountable to actually open up a door. You know, I used to own a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know I never missed that 5 a.m. opening time? Not once. Drunk, sick, hungover.
Coming from the bar at 4 a.m. to
blizzard
Getting
with
work.
3 feet of snow. I had a sign on the door that said, now a lot of guys, this wouldn't have made them accountable, but that sign said, open every day at 5 a.m. So I made sure I was there. Now, I will honestly say, I did not always show up at 4:30 to sweep the floor like I should have. Right? Sometimes people were waiting for me to finish brewing the coffee, when I opened that door. But it was accountability, right? It was it was opening that door. Now, a lot of us who don't have that door to open, it's easy to start sleeping in. It's easy to, laze around. It's 2 hours getting ready to leave the house. But every successful person that I know gets up early and they have a process. They get to work early. They're doing, whether it's sitting in their own office at home. I know a very, very successful author, and she swears to God that the key to her success is she is on her treadmill at 5 a.m., 4:30 to 5 a.m. every morning. While she's doing her 45 minutes to an hour walk on her treadmill, she's making her phone calls. When she gets off that treadmill, sweaty, she cools down, she sits down, she starts writing. She's usually writing by 5:30, and she writes a minimum of 1 hour a day. And she's been doing it for years, and she's massively successful. She's written over 25 books, published and profitable. But it's that, and that's when I look at you, I think here's another example.
It's having a plan. When you have a plan, you're able to segue into other things. Now, for example, like yesterday was a good example for me. I set my alarm for 7 o'clock every morning, and I woke up at 7:15 or 20 of 7. I said, you know what? I'm going to get started now, because what I'm going to do is I had to go to the grocery store to get the dogs food and biscuits. I said, you know what? I'm up early. I have this pocket of time. I'm going to go to the store before I go to work instead of heading out after work. So it having a plan and schedule allowed me to segue into doing something I needed to do. Having a plan also can be exciting.
Yes.
For example, our plan for Lisa and I is every Sunday is Fresh Sheet Sunday. And we always look forward to Sunday night, not because it's the start of the week, but we have fresh sheets. And it's having a plan that Sundays, fresh sheets. And you have to have a plan, even for something like that.
But you know that the daily plan is so important, because I always recommend it. Some of the best success people recommend, which is why I recommend it, because I've inundated myself with this stuff. And if you're not very good at this, it's okay. You live in America. You have access to the internet for whether you may want to get your politics there or not. I'm not sure. I try to get my political information someplace other than Facebook and Twitter. But the internet is a great source. TikTok. Yeah. The internet is a great source for research and information. Okay, and if you want to know anything or how to do anything, you can certainly get a basic understanding, all the way up to advanced understanding. You can watch. You go on YouTube, you can find out about like advanced rocket science. The practical physics. Just the word physics makes my brain hurt. Right? The point is, you need to have a plan for these things, and having that overall plan. Your daily plan is your business plan. Your weekly plan is your business plan. The most successful people recommend sitting down in these increments, right? So you should have a monthly plan. At the end of 1 month, or the very beginning, like day one, I know people that do this the Sunday night, the last weekend of the month. They're looking at next month's plan. And the reason they do it that way is most often that gives them a day or two to prep for the next month if they need to. Once a week on a Sunday, they are sitting down and taking 10 minutes to look at the week's plan.
Right.
So at night, you should be looking at the next day's plan. Now, I know people who get up in the morning and do it, but I'm not quite that. Talk for a minute.
Yeah. I always like to know what's coming up tomorrow. And, right after the break, we're going to talk about that and being prepared for the day, whether you need to be prepared or not. So we'll hit that right after the break here, and we'll be back in just a few.
And welcome back. I'm Joe Carlisle.
I'm Ken Rose.
And this is Tactical to Practical, the Real World Business Show. We are talking about business planning, and actually we're talking about the best business plan is your daily plan. Mm-hmm. I want to say that one of the things a lot of people, I think, miss is as part of this process, I go to a lot of training, even for information I already have. And it's that concept of holding myself accountable. Because a lot of times I'll go to these trainings and I'll hear something that I've done before with success in the past, or there's something that I know will work, but I'm just too lazy or too whiny to do it. And going to the class reminds me and holds me accountable. And just recently, had a guy lead us through an exercise, and I was fully aware of it, but he made me put it on paper because I was in this training, the difference between where I am and where I want to be, in spite of all the excuses, some of them very legitimate, that I've had from the beginning of the year and why my business has been affected. And he was able to break down for me that the solution to my problem was to adjust my plan, okay, to something that's very easy, actionable steps, which is why we need a plan. Because having all the dreams, I'm real good at getting ready to get ready. I can plan and goal and dream and have a vision board, and I'm good at all of that stuff. The stuff that you need to do is I got to show up and unlock that darn door. And so for me, he was able to break it down into a quick, easy thing. But it comes down to getting yourself held accountable to that. And that's what the plan does, right?
Every plan has to have accountability. And even more so in my business than your business, from the sense of I have a front door that has to be open from 8:30 to 4:30, and so somebody has to be here to open that door and be in the building.
That door is a tool that holds you accountable.
Yeah. So for me, it's the door that holds me accountable. But when we talk about planning and scheduling, there's two ways to do things, and one way is, it's a little slow today. I'm going to do some things, other than work related, or I'm going to go in late. It's slow today, and people around me that know me know that I'm always in early. So I could have 0 on the slate, and I'm here bright and early. Mm-hmm. I can be jammed up, and I'm going to be here bright and early. So my accountability is always, whether I'm busy or slow, I've got to put the time in. Because if I don't put the time in, I start finding excuses for not putting the time in, then what happens is you find more and more excuses to not put the time in. It's slow. Well, it's slow because you're not putting the time in. And I think with real estate, that's a very common fallback for many agents, is that, I have no showings this week. I don't have listing appointments. So you know what? I've been wanting to go to Universal Studios or SeaWorld, or I'm thinking I'm going to go away for the weekend, and you drop the ball, and I know Joe just got back from New Hampshire, but prior to him heading to New Hampshire, he was a little concerned because you had 4 new potential clients, and you had planned this escape with your son. And you're like, oh gosh, I got 4 clients. What do I do? And so you negotiated with your clients and found out that they too were going to be out of town for the holiday weekend. And so you kept those connections going, and you continued to work and do the things you needed to do because you were going to be away. And all of a sudden you did have this push of new business showing up at the door. And so that's really what separates a successful agent from an agent that says, I'm going away and I'm going to give the leads to somebody else.
Do you know what's really funny is, using that example, even getting ready to leave for that trip, I had time during the trip put aside 1 hour for 3 of the 7 days we were going to be gone, specifically to make my cold calls.
Right. See?
So I don't have to drop the ball completely. Okay. I had more time scheduled to reach out to existing customers to let them know I'm still in the game. I'll be right back. You know, it's planning. and here's the thing is, you know, this seminar I referred to, he was able to, again, he reminded me what I already knew to be true, right? Was that I needed to break it down to one simple thing. I could make up this gap very easily if I just reached out to this number of people and had this number, and it's a small number. It's not like 50 or 60 people a day.
Right.
It's I mean, if I'm going to be really honest,
It's like 7 to 10
transparency,
calls.
it's like, it's less than 10 calls a day to actually get me to, by the end of Christmas, where my goals are or beyond. Okay. And the beauty of it is I've been working on this for a week now, and the whole continuing that beyond, you talked about easy to give up. And I think salespeople do it, but other industries do it. You know, say, in real estate, I see this particularly in July and at Christmas time. It's the lie they tell themselves. Well, nobody's buying at Christmas anyway. Hey, we're in Florida, okay? They might not be buying in, you know, Batavia, New York.
But they're coming for vacation?
With 2 feet of snow on the ground. But in Florida, they're at least showing interest.
Right.
And one of the ways I've been able to stay successful where other agents failed was when November hits. That's not, I'll take a few days around Thanksgiving, but I'm not averse to blowing off the day after Thanksgiving while my wife is Black Friday shopping. If I have to show a house, I will. And I've sold over the years several houses on that day. Why? Because nobody else was willing to.
Right.
You know, they wanted to do it on Monday or, you know, Saturday. I'm going out Friday. You want to buy a house today?
I'm ready to roll.
I'm ready to roll. But that's the hard thing to do. And that's why you need a plan.
Well, that's why the daily plan is so important, because when I got into real estate back in 01, my broker had said, and this talks about your daily plan. On your daily plan, you schedule the hardest thing to do first, which was cold calling FSBOs and things like that. Now, in the printing business, the hardest thing for me to do, the hardest part of my day, is opening up QuickBooks and writing out checks. Because it just sucks writing out checks. Whether you have $1 billion or no money, it sucks writing out checks. But I know that if I've got to write checks, I'm going to come in, I'm going to get it done first because it's the thing I hate to do the most, and then I can go on with my day. When you wait to the end of the day to do the thing that you hate to do, your whole day is wrecked.
Right.
You know,
you're always
thinking about I still got to do this. And that's where the plan comes in. I mean, that's where accountability comes in. Do what you don't like to do first.
So many people miss it. And you know, here's the real shame of it is, and it took me a long time. I'll be honest, it took me a while. I wasn't this smart when I was 25. If I had been this smart when I was 25, I'd probably...
We wouldn't be doing a show.
No, I'd be sitting on, or I'd be doing a show like this for Netflix. You know, I'd be a millionaire. I would probably be Netflix, right? The beauty is, you know, people don't want to take that time that I talked about each quarter, each month, each evening to plan the next day, each morning first thing to plan the day out. The reality is, if you have that daily plan, if you take that little bit of time, and it doesn't have to be hours, 10, 15 minutes, we're not talking, you know, that you've got to figure out the entire problem. You don't have to figure out how to build the carburetor. You just got to figure out how to turn on the car and hit the gas, right? If you do that and then you follow the daily plan, it will take care of the weekly plan, and the weekly plan will take care of the monthly plan, which will take care of the yearly plan. And everybody I know, I was in this room with 25 realtors, and we all had the same exact problem. We fell off the plan. And that's always, no matter what you're going to do in life, it's all about sticking with the success plan.
Correct.
Okay? Because your plan may not be successful, but if you're trying to stay with it, you're going to figure out what's not successful,
what's working,
and
what's
what
not
is.
working.
You know,
Absolutely.
You talked about that hardest thing. I would also say that if you're going to get into business, at some point you need to figure out what is the one thing you need to do every day to drive the business.
Mm-hmm.
It may be open the door. Okay. In my case, it's have a certain number of conversations every day.
Mm-hmm.
And be willing to challenge yourself. Say, okay, I don't believe in this and I find it really difficult. I'm going to do it for 30 days. For 30 days, I'm going to do this every day, come hell or high water. If I miss a day, that means I'm going to do it for I'm going to add a day. The total when I'm done is going to be 30 somewhat consecutive days. Now, if you miss 3 days in a row, you're going to start the 30 days all over.
But it's building a habit.
But it's building a habit. And that will allow you to move it. You'll find accountability if you're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about tools. The door is a tool. A vision board is a tool. The plan is a tool. It's all about building accountability. Because people who are accountable are successful. That's just the way it is.
You know, and not only that, Joe, but really, you have accountability. There's stuff that goes on every day that you know is negative, and you know people call a shop. I answer the phone the same way every day. Thank you for calling Minuteman Press. This is Ken. How can I help you? The shop can be on fire. Jobs are getting rerun, and you know, somebody comes through the front door even, and I'm like, oh, you know, I don't have time to deal with this person. And then I have to step back and remember, clients are the reason I'm here, and this is part of the plan. This is part of my accountability that I have to take care of these things. You know,
it's funny because the other thing many people miss, and again, this is a life thing, and we're probably not telling you anything you haven't experienced, but if you're going to be a business person, it's important for you to put a microscope, at the very least, a magnifying glass on these kind of issues. I can't tell you how many times I've had my prospecting time, which I try to make completely inviolable, because that's my one thing. If I'm not talking to a certain number of people every day and asking them to buy, sell, or rent real estate, you know, or at least if they're interested in it, then I'm not doing my job.
Right.
Okay. And so if I talk to you and at the end I ask you to buy, sell, or rent real estate, well, then I'm just doing my job.
But you're doing your job because you have a plan. This is what you need to do during the day.
But it is not uncommon for the call to come in from the title company that I have an existing customer under contract. And you know, my office manager can't handle that one because he doesn't have the relationship with the customer. I do. And so that will take me off. And it'll be really easy for me to get sucked into taking care of that issue for 25 or 30 minutes.
Right.
Okay. And then I need a cup of coffee, and now I need to stretch my hip and say, well, you know, it's lunchtime, so I'll go come back and do those calls after lunch. And it just never happens. But your plan, if you have a plan you're going by, you are held accountable to it, because the plan says, okay, Joe, before the day is over, I need to do X, Y, Z. I don't suggest not seeing your emails, but emails are coming secondary to talking to 8 to 10 people a day.
Well, speaking about what you have to do and what you need to do, we're going to take a short break here because there's something that I have to do, or else I'll have to need to do something about it in a bit. So we'll be right back after these messages, and we'll catch you on our last segment, and we'll talk a little bit more about planning and accountability. So we'll be right back after this.
All right. Don't go away. See you in a minute. Okay.
We are back at the Tactical to Practical Show with Ken Rose
and Joe Carlisle, the Real World Business Show.
Joe, we were just finishing up with planning and accountability, and I guess the only other suggestion that I have about making plans is a simple one. One of the most important things that I do is making a list before I go to the grocery store. Because if I have a list, which is my plan, I get everything on that list. But how many times do we not have a list or a plan, and you go to the grocery and you forget half the things, and you buy things that you didn't need, and you get home and you can't make dinner because you forgot it. So I guess to summarize what we're talking about on today's show is you have to have a business plan, you have to have a personal plan, you have to have accountability for what you're doing.
You know, I'm so glad you said that about the list because because we talk about this, and I said that thing about I'm good at getting ready to get ready. You don't have to overthink this stuff. I mean, we've been talking about planning. So typical conventional wisdom says you need this 42-page. If you need a formal business plan, yes, for lenders or investors, you're going to need the 42-page plan. You just got to sit down and do the homework.
Correct.
Right? But if you're doing it for yourself to move your business forward, which you should also do, it can be very simple. You can get one-pagers off of the internet. Don't feel like you have to spend $5,000 on some planning systems. As a matter of fact, 95% of the people I know that buy these, including myself, I put they have 3-ring binders, and you could customize all this, that, and the other. Only use them for about 30 days.
Right.
Okay. What's important, the best kind of plan is the one you'll use. We'll talk about CRMs. That's a rule for CRMs, which is a customer relationship management system. The best kind of plan, the best plan in the entire, people ask me this all the time. Joe, what's the best planner? What's the best this? It's the one you'll use. If taking out a small paper every day and writing out a list of things to do is the plan that you'll use that plan. Okay? Get a friend, get a buddy to help hold you accountable. You know, Ken told me, I asked him for some marketing help, and he gave me some ideas, and you know, I sat down with him and told him why I didn't like them, and he said, well, you know, you're being a whiny little bitch. You know, he didn't say it exactly that way, but that's what it meant.
Having a plan is very important. Having somebody to hold you accountable to that plan, if you can't yourself, that's great too. I mean, whether you want to work out, you have somebody to work out with that holds you accountable, you know.
You know, I do want to say on the person, it's very important to have somebody who cares enough about you to be vested in your success just because they want to see you successful. You know, it's coaches, good coaches like that are few and far between. If you want one and you really want to pay for a professional to help you over some humps, I know one that's just absolutely amazing and very, very affordable. But having somebody that can tell you, because you don't want to trust everybody with your plan. Because there are some people that'll just tear you down. You know, they'll use that plan to beat you over the head, and then you won't use the plan, and it'll be no good. You know, so.
Well, and before we get to our featured, Joe and I have a plan in the works that we have been working on quietly. And in the next few months, we'll talk about how that plan moved, whether it was successful, whether it wasn't successful, you know, what the results of it were. But we're going to keep it under wraps until we have the data to support what we're doing. On another note, who's our business of the week, Joe?
Our featured business of the week is Gainford Insurance, our buddy Chuck Gainsford. You know, I've had people tell me, it's amazing to me, I'll meet somebody and somehow Chuck's name will come up and they'll know him. He is the one guy that I guarantee you, if somebody's been in this community, in the business area for longer than 12 months, Chuck has probably had coffee with him.
Yes, absolutely.
Have you ever had coffee with Chuck?
I actually did a show with Chuck.
You did?
Yeah, I had Joe as a guest, Chuck as a guest on the show.
That's just as good.
And chatted with him, had some laughs.
Did he taste the beer?
He did taste the beer. Yes. We tasted the beer. We talked about baseball, and you know, he's just a really knowledgeable guy. He's got some great stories. The thing that stands out about Chuck is, and if anybody gets to meet Chuck, ask Chuck about how he started in the insurance business and what he did to get clients. And it's an amazing story about tenacity, about effort, and about consistency and using marketing that was free.
Yeah. So yeah, Chuck is actually one of those guys who are few and far between. Although a lot of guys want to be him, but they're not. They think they are, but they're not. Well, it's not just the tenacity, but Chuck has a certain spirit, a certain vibe.
Yeah, he has a charisma.
You know, he has a charisma, but he also has a concern for everybody. When you're talking to Chuck, you know Chuck is listening to you. He's not waiting for his turn to talk.
He's engaged.
He's engaged. Chuck has actually given me personally quite a bit of advice in some of those lower times. And Chuck is one of those guys I think of when I go to a seminar and the guy says, well, Joe, you need to make 8 to 10 calls a day. And I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe Chuck told me this 2 years ago. So he owns Gainsford Insurance. He specializes in life insurance and investment retirement annuities, that sort of thing. Give Chuck a call. Whether you need insurance or not, Chuck is worth an hour of your time to have coffee with. He's
Definitely.
a great guy. He's full of great advice. And I would say he's one of those people, and I don't put a lot of people on this list, but he is one of the guys that I absolutely look up to. So
well, there you go.
Chuck, if you're out there, we want to say we love you, buddy. And you are the man. And Chuck has a reputation for winning every drive. I mean, he gets to the place, if you're someplace with Chuck wins so much.
Chuck has luck.
And he says is because anytime he enters with the intent to win.
Yes.
And man, he wins a lot.
All the time.
A bunch. So anyways. Let me see. Business questions. Well, we didn't get any business questions this week, probably because it was a long weekend.
Right.
Probably because it was a long weekend. People aren't thinking like that. Look, if you have your business questions, send them to us at info@tacticaltopractical.net. We would love to research them and answer them for you. I would say 90% of questions you send us, we will probably be able to find an answer to, or find a resource that can answer it. So that's a freebie right there.
Oh, we'll make it up as we go.
That's right. Also, send us your business story. Again, that story could be, we're looking for your story. We want to feature you on our show here. It could be what inspired you to start, what inspired you to keep going, what kept you going in a rough time, why you think you're successful, or just a blurb about what you do in the community, what you do, what your business does. We're talking about this. We talk about this all the time. Your business may have a name that doesn't say what you do. Please
reach out.
Reach out. Tell us what you do, and we will tell everybody else.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week at basically the same time. It's usually Wednesdays at 10. You can catch the show, and you can catch it YouTube. You can catch it Facebook.com at Tactical Practical. So we'll see you again soon. Have a great week.
Bye-bye. Love ya.